All right, so we're in chapter 4, original edition, section 3, ego and false autonomy, and we're starting with the paragraph that says, belief is an ego function. All right, belief is an ego function. Okay, so it says, belief is an ego function. That's interesting. Belief is an ego function. And that means that as long as your origin is open to belief at all, you are regarding your origin from an ego viewpoint. Okay, as long as my what is open to belief, as long as my origin, where I came from, as long as where I came from is open to belief, then I am regarding my origin from an ego viewpoint. It says, when teaching is no longer necessary, you will merely know God. Okay? So when teaching is done, when teaching is no longer necessary, when we finally learn what we're here to learn, then we're going to go beyond belief to what? To knowing. To knowing, which means having certainty. Okay? So belief is just something that we still have and still have to practice until we get to the point of certainty. Isn't that interesting? Belief is something that you need to experience, and it's something that you have until you know. So first it goes, I believe I am created by God. I believe I am as God created me. I believe, and then you go beyond learning, which is the same as saying going beyond belief to what? I know God. I'm certain. I don't have to believe in myself anymore. I don't have to believe in God anymore. Isn't that interesting? That belief is an ego function. Because when you know, you don't have to believe anything. You don't need belief once you know, once you have certainty. Isn't that interesting? So belief is just something that you need while you're still learning. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. So I love it. It says belief is an ego function, right? Because what? I only need to believe in something when what? When I don't really know it. I haven't really accepted it. Okay? So all we're doing here is learning. All we're doing here is raising our beliefs up to the point where we don't need belief anymore because we have certainty. So how nice would that be?
Belief and doubt are the two sides of the same coin.
That's exactly right. And as long as I believe that who I am is open to belief at all. See, I still believe that who I am is open to belief, right? I don't think who I am is a certainty. I still think that who I am and where I come from is open to belief. Like it's debatable. Like it's open to belief. And that means that I'm regarding my identity from the ego viewpoint, where my identity is, well, it's up for belief, you know?
So belief is not conclusive. There's doubt in belief.
In belief, doubt is implied. That's because you don't need to believe, I believe. You don't need to believe in anything when you have certainty. You only need to believe in anything when there's doubt. You know? All right. So,
Which paragraph is that?
the paragraph that starts, belief is an ego function. 28. All right. And so, remember, so learning is just about purifying your beliefs, clarifying your beliefs, right? Okay. Then it says, and when teaching is over and teaching is no longer necessary, you will merely know, which means have certainty in God. But believe that there is another way. Belief that there is another way is the loftiest belief or the loftiest idea of which ego thinking is capable. Okay? So yeah, belief is an ego function, right? But belief that there's another way is the highest belief that the ego can have, that the ego is capable of. Wow, all right? So what's the highest belief that my ego is capable of? Belief that there is another way. So when you get to the point where you're like, oh, there's another way, or there's got to be another way, there's got to be a better way, you are at the ego ceiling. You are at the height of the ego's belief. That's as high as the ego goes. The ego doesn't go any higher than belief that there is another way. So
that would make sense because the ego at that point is most threatened because the mind is trying to choose something to solve the problem where before it was content or malcontent with its situation.
That's right.
I mean, when you're beating yourself up all the time, the ego's, happy as can be, but when you're actually motivated to fix the problem,
That's right.
then it pulls out its big guns, so to speak.
That's right, exactly.
And defends even more with that.
Yeah,
Offering this way is the way.
exactly. The ego will feel threatened when you think, oh, maybe there's another way. Oh, there is another way. That says, now you go, at that point you go beyond where the ego can take you, right? Because the ego will never say, oh, there's another way. What? The ego's not going to tell you there's another way.
It doesn't want you to know.
It doesn't want you to have another way.
It's like, you're smart, you can figure that out.
That's right. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
intelligent people figure out their own problems.
Exactly. That's right. Intelligent people figure out their own problems. You don't need another way. You don't need another voice. But the idea, the belief, so belief is of the ego. Belief only takes you so far. Belief is related to learning. We're not supposed to be learning forever. We're only supposed to be, it says, learning, like the classrooms in which learning occurs, is temporary, right? You're not supposed to stay in grade school forever. You're supposed to go to grade school, learn what you got to learn, and graduate. It's interesting that belief is the same thing as learning. It's temporary. It's not, we're not supposed to always be believers forever. We're supposed to be knowers, have knowledge, have certainty, to the point where we don't have to believe in ourselves. That'd be nice to get to the point where you're beyond having to believe in yourself. I believe in myself. And that'd be great. Having to generate belief in yourself, or have to generate belief in the truth that you remain as God created you. And you're good. You don't have to learn about your truth anymore. You don't have to learn that you're as God created you. You don't have to learn that you're valuable. You don't have to learn that you're worthy of love. You don't have to learn that you're worthy of abundance. You don't have to learn anymore that you're one. Right? You go beyond that to, no, I get that, now what? I accept that, now what? That's when you go beyond learning to creation. Okay? And so, but until then, what we're going to be learning, what we need to be learning so that we take ourselves up to the learning ceiling, is that there's another way. So it's like this. When you're going to break through from wherever you're at now within your own conflict, and you're going to break through the conflict ceiling to go beyond conflict in this situation, wherever your conflict is, what takes you all the way up to the conflict ceiling is this belief, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than this. Than the way I've been doing this conflict, the way this seems to me, there's got to be a better way. Okay? That raises you up to the ceiling of your conflict potential. Because remember, conflict is not forever. Conflict always has a ceiling. Okay? Why? Because God didn't create your conflict. And that means your conflict has to have a ceiling. It has to have an end. It has to have a limit. Okay? Because God didn't create it. So it's not eternal. It's not. So in other words, there's always a ceiling. He says, tolerance for pain may be high, but it is not without limit. At some point, you're going to hit that conflict ceiling. And what brings you up to the conflict ceiling where, hey, no more, there's got to be a better way, is that belief, there's got to be a better way. There is a better way. So, if you are experiencing a conflict right now, if you are in conflict in any area of your life, if you want to speed the time up by which you get to your tolerance ceiling and get beyond that to what is beyond that conflict, which is going to be peace and abundance and joy, you would tell yourself, there's got to be a better way. There is another way. This is not the only option. This problem is not the only option. There's plenty of other options I could be experiencing. So this is not all there is. There's got to be a better way than this, than the way I've been doing it. And when you tell yourself that truth, when you believe that about this situation, you're floating yourself up to your pain tolerance threshold. And then you will pop above it, right? You'll pop out of it to the other way, the better way, okay? So is there an area of your life right now where you need to be believing that there's got to be a better way?
It's fascinating, the circular process by which we move forward. I mean, thinking there's a better way, that just created doubt in the belief before that there wasn't, right?
That's exactly right.
When doubt happens, then you can receive learning.
That's right.
Once you get the learning, that changes the belief, and you get to proceed forward.
Exactly. Exactly.
I never realized how we had to doubt what we thought we knew before we could learn anything.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's interesting to associate learning with belief. You know, I'm still learning because I haven't gone beyond belief. You know, I accept I remain as God created me. I accept I am spirit. I accept I'm not a body. I haven't gone beyond that. So now I have to practice believing I'm a spirit. I have to practice believing I'm innocent. I have to practice believing that I remain as God created me. But that's the best you can do while you're still playing around with belief, while you're still in belief school, while you're still learning, while you're still in school, the best you can do is believe that there's a better way. Now, why is it that belief that there is another way is the loftiest idea of which ego thinking is capable? Because the belief there is another way is that belief contains a hint of recognition that your ego is not yourself. So when I say, there's got to be a better way, there is another way. I believe there is another way. What does he say? There is a hint of recognition that you're not your ego. There's got to be a better way. There is another way means maybe I'm not. Maybe my ego isn't myself. Wow. Imagine that. Wait a minute. My ego isn't me. Okay, so the idea, maybe the ego isn't me. Maybe that voice that is kind of mean to me, it kind of puts me down, always tells me of limits, always tells me to feel bad, tells me I'm limited, tells me I'm inadequate, tells me I'm not enough and I never have enough and I don't have enough. Maybe that isn't me. Maybe that isn't myself. Oh my goodness. Now that is the loftiest belief that you can have while still having an ego. Maybe the ego isn't me. Wow. And that's really powerful. Because what happens if you have that belief that maybe the ego is not me, maybe my ego isn't me? What if you really had that belief? I mean, your ego would do whatever it does and say whatever it does and generate whatever conflict it does. But how seriously are you going to take it? How seriously are you going to take that voice? How seriously are you going to take the problems the ego generates? when you have the belief that maybe that's not me. Maybe there's a stranger that has wandered in to my mind that is now saying, I'm you. Like that workbook lesson, it says, fear is the stranger here. Fear is the stranger here. I am at home here. Fear is the stranger here. So when you get to the point where you are like, maybe that's not me. Maybe that's just a belief system I've adopted. Maybe that's just a voice that I picked up somewhere. Maybe it's a parasite that I picked up somewhere. Maybe it's not me. When you have that belief, that is the loftiest belief that ego thinking is capable of having. And what it does is it pops you out. It pops you out of that conflict. It pops you out of the belief level or the learning level. It pops you out to what's above it.
You're not like the mouse running on the wheel, all of a sudden you jump off the wheel.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's interesting. Interesting how, that entertaining some doubt about, that's not me, or that's not me, entertaining some doubt is what actually pops you out. How interesting is that? Maybe that's not me. Maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a better way. Interesting. So entertaining just a tiny bit of doubt about that this has got to be, this is real, that this is the way it is, and it'll always be this way. You ever notice that when you're in your ego, you're not like, I wonder if this is reality. When you are in your ego, you are just damn sure that you are seeing correctly. You are not open. You're not entertaining doubt about about the validity of your perception. When you are in your ego, you are like, I know it is the way I'm seeing it, and I know I'm right. And anybody who doesn't agree with me, they are wrong. And I will attack them, and I will be justified. Okay? And so it's interesting when you entertain some doubt. Maybe I'm not seeing this correctly. Maybe there is a better way of going about this. Maybe this is not an accurate reflection of reality.
You would take things less seriously. You would take other people less seriously. I think you would take everything less seriously.
That's exactly right. And it would pop you right on out. It's interesting, just a little shred of doubt pops you out.
Wow.
You don't have to know what the better way is. You don't have to know what the other way is. You don't even have to know what the truth is. All you have to do is be willing, that tiny little willingness to entertain some doubt about your version of the problem. But we're not even willing to do that, are we?
Sometimes we get caught up in the doubt, and it becomes a cycle that we wire our brains
Absolutely.
to say, I can't.
That's right. Which really is a cover for I don't want, because we've become addicted. Because it's like, as long as I'm identifying with my ego, then I will be addicted to conflict. Because the ego is addicted to conflict. Because the ego needs conflict to survive. And so as long as I'm identified with my ego, I haven't entertained some hint of possibility that I'm not my ego, then I'm going to value and want the things my ego wants, which is conflict, plain and simple. There's a part of me, my ego, that's all it wants. It doesn't want peace. It doesn't want love. It wants conflict. Because the ego feels alive in conflict, because that's what the ego is. It's a total affirmation of the ego's life. So the ego is addicted to conflict. And so when we are identifying with our ego, we're not doubting that the ego is ourself, then we too want that conflict. And when we want the conflict, then we are predisposed to defend it. Right?
So the ego is saying that we're not allowing ourselves to go there because the ego has us thinking that we can't go there.
That we can't go where? Beyond the conflict?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, exactly. That's right. The ego, the last thing on earth the ego ever, ever, ever wants you to think is, I wonder if there's a different way of looking at this. I wonder if there's another way of interpreting this. I wonder if there's another way of being.
That to me
That's
seems
it.
like it would be more of a evolution of banishing the doubt, because the step in between would be that there is no way. You know, these ways
That's
didn't
right.
work.
That's right.
I give up. There
Yes,
isn't a way.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know.
Exactly. And that's why he's saying that so when you're in your ego, you are not entertaining any doubt about your version of your problem. Okay? When you are still addicted to your problem, you will not entertain any doubt about your version of your problem. That's how you know you still want it, you want it, you want it, because it has a value for you, has a payoff for you that you haven't questioned yet. Okay?
It's more about doubting your ego answers as opposed to doubting there's a solution.
Exactly. You go from doubting that there's an answer to doubting that maybe you're seeing the whole picture. Or you go to doubting your version of it. Right?
Right, so that's a leap of faith.
And that's exactly right. And that's what it calls learning. That's what learning is all about. This is what learning is. Getting us to the point where we go, I wonder if my version of reality is maybe not reality. Maybe that's not all there is. You know, that in other words, if that's the height of the ego belief is capable, it's also the height of learning. So isn't that funny? All of our learning is just to get us to the point where we doubt what the ego's telling us, and that the ego is us. That's it. And once you even get to the point where you're like, I wonder if that is really reality. I wonder if my version of reality really is real, and I wonder if that ego really is me. Then, you go beyond learning. Wow. I mean, I hear that and I'm like, wow, I really am in spiritual kindergarten. I really am in spiritual kindergarten. I haven't even got to that point yet, right? So that's what our learning is about. So, and then the practical application of that is like what we were saying earlier. If you are experiencing a conflict of any kind right now, you can speed your way up to your threshold of it, to its limit, by entertaining some doubt about your version of it, entertaining some doubt that it represents who you are. I wonder if that's even me. I wonder if that at all represents who I am. Does this problem really represent me as limited? Does this problem really, is this problem real for me? Am I really limited in that way? Start entertaining some doubt about your version of your problem. And start entertaining some doubt that voice represents you or is you. Maybe I'm really not that limited, right?
But you're not really there until you say, I don't know anything about this.
That's right. You're not there until you say, there's got to be a better way. Or maybe there's another way to see this.
And I have no clue.
And I don't know. I must not know because I don't like the way I feel. Because remember, knowledge is always associated with joy. Always. According to A Course in Miracles, you can't say, I have certainty about something until you have total peace and total joy. Because God did not create a reality that doesn't represent joy. God did not create a reality that contains fear. Because God's just not like that.
Because the ego keeps giving us all these false solutions because it doesn't want us to find the real solution.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's exactly right. Because the real solution pops us out of the ego thinking. And then that's it for the ego. So, and that pulls us right to the next, and it says, okay, it's exactly what you guys were talking about. Both of you guys were talking about this. And it says this. It says, undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful. So when you question anything about the ego, when you start questioning what the ego has told you about the situation, and you start questioning what your fearful human mind has told you about yourself and the world and reality, and you go, I wonder if that's just my version or that's reality, and you start questioning that, the ego must perceive that as painful. That is painful for your ego. Your ego goes, ow. You know, how you feel if somebody was going to be stabbing you, that's how the ego feels. Undermining, which means questioning your ego's beliefs, must be perceived as painful. Wow.
Because you know what I said before about intelligent people solve their own problems. Well, that makes you, to your ego, that makes you not intelligent anymore.
Exactly.
And not able to solve the problem.
That's right.
So helpless.
And exactly. And for the ego, it's like, it's like it's a course calls it a hungry dog of fear. And it's like you taking its meat, its raw meat away from it. How do you think a hungry dog is going to perceive you taking its meat away from it? Painful, okay? And then it goes on to explain this. So whenever you question your ego's version, whenever you question your ego's thought system, your ego's going to perceive it, has to perceive it as painful. Why is that? Okay, it's painful. The ego sees it as painful even though it being painful is anything but true. Here's how it goes. Don't babies scream and rage if you take away a knife or a scissors, even though they may well harm themselves if you do not? Don't they? This is why the ego perceives it as as painful when you take that belief in it away from the ego. This is why the ego perceives you undermining or questioning its beliefs as painful. It's just the same reason as babies scream and rage if you take away a knife or scissors, even though they may well harm themselves if you don't. And the speed up has placed you in the same position. Interesting. That last sentence is in the original but not the edited. And that sentence again is, the speed up has placed you in the same position.
I'm really hoping you're going to explain that.
Well, all right. Okay. First of all, what's the same position? The same position is this. I am a baby, and I am screaming in rage when something that is going to hurt me is taken away from me. Okay? So that I'm in the same position. I'm the baby. Okay? And my ego's, what I've been using to hurt myself, which is my belief that the ego, that my fear is real. My belief, I'm the baby who wants the scissors and the knife. I am the person who wants the judgment, who wants the anger, who wants the fear, and who wants to be right. And I am screaming in rage if you take away my I'm right. I'm in that position. That's the position we're in. Okay? Now, interesting. So we're in the baby position, and we're like, give me that judgment, give me my fear, give me my attack, give me my lack, give me. Wah! Okay? But the speed up has placed me in the position where it has to be taken from me, even though I scream in rage. Isn't that interesting? So it's almost like, what I hear in that, it's very interesting when I read this for the first time, because I had not been in the edited version, what occurred to me was that there's a speed up going on. And the speed up is like this. Look, y'all, sorry, we don't have much time for you to get it on yourself, by yourself. We don't have much time for you to come to the realization that the knife and the scissors are going to hurt you. We don't have that time, so I'm taking it from you. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
And I was like, that is so interesting. So I guess that's what I heard there. That the beings who are in charge of this Great Awakening. The Great Awakening that is underway, according to A Course in Miracles, there's a Great Awakening. Another name for the Great Awakening, the Speed Up. And I love that, because that puts a whole new perspective on the Great Awakening. What's a Great Awakening? Honey, it's happening, and we got to speed it up. Come on now.
Wake up now.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. So maybe it used to be, before the speed up, maybe it used to be that, that those who are in charge of the Great Awakening could let us take our time, Maybe it used to be that you could give the baby more time to figure out that the scissors will hurt it. But now it's like, sorry baby, I'm sorry that we can't just wait for you to learn from the consequences of your own decision. You know how they say that, like, good parenting is you allow your children to learn from the consequences of their own choices, because that's how they learn best. If you take the lesson away from your child and you prevent your child from sticking their hand on the burner all the time, they'll never learn that they shouldn't stick their hand on the burner. Okay, that's what we call good parenting here. Here in this, it's saying that there's something going on the planet within mankind where the beings who are in charge of this speed up are going to have to take away the knife and scissors and just let you scream and rage. Wow. Okay, very interesting. Now, is there any area, I just want you to ask yourself, where in my life right now am I screaming in rage the most? You might call that a grievance, you're upset, you're angry, you're frustrated, maybe some depression. Where is it in your world right now? Are you like, throwing a tantrum, having a grievance? Where is it in your life that you are screaming in rage? Okay, so, now, wherever that is, wherever that may be, that is the place where the beings who are in charge of this speed up are pulling something away from you that you are hurting yourself with. So here's what happens when the universe is trying to take away from you something you are hurting yourself with. What do?
You hang on to it tighter.
You scream and you rage. You know that phrase, everything I ever let go of had claw marks on it? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. And if you have that awareness, then when you find yourself, I'm upset, screaming in rage, angry, frustrated, holding a grievance, if you can look at that and go, oh, that's where I'm trying to hold on to some knives and scissors, metaphorically speaking, that I'm hurting myself with, and the universe is trying to take it from me, and I'm like, ah! Now, if you have that awareness, because you've read that, maybe it will enable you to let it go easier, more gracefully, and go, okay, hey, there's a reason why that seems to be being taken from me.
Is it almost always that we're holding on to that, comes back to some belief about ourselves?
That's exactly right.
That's what it's connected to.
That's exactly right. We want to be right. We really,
It's not
really
really
want...
the thing itself, is what
That's
it
right.
represents.
That's exactly right.
How I see myself.
Yes.
So we're just going to keep holding on to it, so it finally has to be taken away.
That's exactly right. And the Course talks about this important dynamic in the teacher's manual in the section called the development of trust. And it's a really, really, for me, it's always been a really important section, because in this section, it talks about, listen, if you're going to be part of this great awakening and fulfill your function in it and take your part and be of service to the great awakening of humanity, then you're going to have to undergo a process called the development of trust. You're going to have to undergo a process called the development of trust. And in this process, what you're going to have to be trusting in is that things are not being taken from you. It seems like things are being taken from you. But because you don't see the bigger picture, you scream and rage when things seem to be taken from you. But what you have to learn to develop trust in is that they're being taken from you because you're hurting yourself with them. You're delaying yourself with them. You know that relationship that seemed to be being taken from you and you were screaming in rage? Ah! But yeah, it needed to be taken from you because you are hurting yourself with it. And we can't afford for you to be wasting any more time sitting around poking yourself in the eye with that relationship. We need you. And so we are trying to take it from you. We're trying to take that situation that is hurting you, that you're using to hurt yourself with, whatever that situation is. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's just a job, maybe it's a health condition, maybe it's an old grievance, maybe it's a belief pattern about yourself that you're hurting yourself with. And listen, we can't be messing, we need you. There's a speed up happening. There's a healing of humanity happening, and we need you. Okay? We can't wait for you to get, oh, this isn't helpful to me. I don't need this anymore. We can't wait around for you to get that because we're kind of slow. So we're going to take it from you, and we're taking it from you gently, but you are clinging to it, and the clinging to it is what produces the rage. That produces the rage and the anger. I want it. And they're like, no, honey, I'm sorry for that relationship. You can't run with don't run with scissors. You can't run with that relationship. You're going to fall. It's going to poke your eye out. Right? And so we are, and he goes on to say, you are not prepared. What do you mean I'm not prepared? Well, in this sense, you are babies. It doesn't say that line, you are not prepared, in the edited version either. In the original version, it says, you are not prepared. What do you mean? Well, in this, relative to what we're talking about, you're not prepared what? In this sense, you are babies who are screaming in rage when the scissors or the knives are being taken from you. The things you're using to hurt yourself and slow yourself down and put yourself to sleep. You are a baby screaming in rage when those things are being taken away from you by the universe who loves you. In other words, you have no sense of real self-preservation, just like a baby. Wow. What does that mean? That means, isn't it true you are very likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most? Indeed. Sometimes I'm very likely to decide I need precisely the person that would hurt me the most. Sometimes I am very likely to decide I need the situation or the belief that would hurt me precisely the most. Doesn't it seem like sometimes that we just have a profound knack of choosing the situation or the relationship that would precisely hurt us the most? Like, I don't know, I just have a knack for picking people who can push my buttons precisely. I mean, how do they know exactly where all my buttons are and exactly how to push them? What is that? Because I have no real sense of self-preservation. And I'm very likely to decide I need the very thing that would hurt me the most. I am a baby. Wow, isn't that profound?
That is.
And it's so profound. And that's, that's a lot of forgiveness too. That's a lot of self-forgiveness too. Why is it that I keep choosing these situations and relationships that precisely hurt me the most? Why is that? Because I don't know what I need. I don't know what I need. I don't have a real sense of self-preservation. Wow. Okay, I'm a baby.
Really hard or impossible for us when we're at that point when it's being taken.
Yes.
That's another opportunity.
It's easier, it makes it easier to let go of that if you can remember that, wait, nothing real can be taken.
That's exactly right.
All that's going here is an illusion.
That's exactly right. That's why whenever I'm going through a really painful something or other, where something seems to be being taken from me, or I seem to be losing something, I always go to the development of trust. I always go to that section, because it always reminds me that the reason that I am hurting and screaming in rage is because something that I've been using to hurt me has been being taken away from me. And then that enables me to go, oh, right, okay. And it enables me to loosen my grasp. It enables me to let go a bit and go, oh, you're right. I have been using this situation, this relationship to hurt me. You're right. Why am I freaking out that it seems to be going away or being taken from me? Why? Oh, yeah, I want what hurts me. I mean, really, when you talk to somebody who's in the midst of a very painful loss or breakup, whether it's a job or a relationship, or a situation, very often when you talk to them about that situation, it's not like they'll sit there and go, oh, it was bliss. They'll go, it was so painful, and we broke up 20 times, and I hated the job, and I hated my boss, and da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, well, why are you depressed? Why are you so angry? You've been released. And it's like, it doesn't occur to them. Oh, right. Well, wait a minute. Well, you're full of grievances and anger and sadness and depression and rage, but yet you're sitting here telling me that it was very painful when you were in it. What's up with that? This explains that. That explains that. And have you also noticed that when somebody was in a relationship that they themselves would tell you that was the most peaceful relationship I ever was in, or that was the most peaceful job that I was ever in, they very easily get rid of that. You'll be like, why did you get rid of that person? You never fought. I don't know. Why did you get rid of that relationship? Why did you get rid of that job? Right? So the things that we're not using to hurt us with, we tend not to, cling to, do this to. But the things that we use to hurt us, we tend to scream and rage when it's taken from us. And we don't see at the time that it's being taken from us for our good. We don't see that. We don't have that awareness. And that's why he says that's what you've got to develop trust in. You've got to develop this trust that goes something like, I don't understand how and why, but this is for my own best interest. All changes are helpful. This change is helpful. He says, in that section, Development of Trust, our teacher says, when you can say this is helpful, this change is helpful, all changes are helpful, this is for my own best interest, even if you don't believe it. If you can say it and say it, then you will be able to develop the trust that will show you that it is in your best interest. You are being helped. You are being preserved. You are being protected. You are being protected. And so in whatever area of your life right now where there are some painful changes happening, Are there any areas of your life where painful changes are happening? In that area of your life, the Course says, you're supposed to say, all changes are helpful. These changes are helpful. Nothing is being taken from me. This is a change that's helpful. This is helpful. All changes are helpful. And you say that to yourself, number one, because it's true. And number two, because it's true, it will enable you to develop the trust to be able to see that you are being saved. I know. I always go to the development of trust whenever I am experiencing any kind of painful loss, any kind of painful, scary transition, or crisis, where changes are occurring. Things seem to be being taken from me, or I seem to be losing something, and it's painful. And I'm screaming, and I'm raging, and I'm crying, or I'm depressed because of what I seem to be losing. Wow. I always go to that one. And I say to myself, I always cry when I'm being saved, which is true. Whenever I'm being saved from something, I'm always like, I'm always like, look what they did to me. I love them and they went away. They abandoned me. I'm always crying when I'm saved, Because, why? Because my ego always perceives the undermining of it as painful. So whenever there's a perception of pain, who do you think's feeling that pain? You or your ego? What experiences pain? Is it your spirit, who is connected to everything and knows there is no loss and death? No. Or is it your ego, who's fragile and who values illusions, and it is an illusion? The part of you that experiences pain is the ego. Your real self knows there is no loss. Your real self knows there is no death. Your real self knows you are connected to everything and the source of everything, and so loss is impossible. Only the ego experiences pain. So when you're in pain, next time when you're experiencing pain, go, I wonder what my ego thinks it's losing right now. I wonder what my ego feels like is being taken away. I wonder in which way my ego feels like it's being undermined. Where is it? What is it that is threatening my ego right now? In what way is my ego feeling threatened? Because ego only feels pain when ego feels undermined. Right? Just like a baby. You're not listening to me. Right? That is the only time a baby screams in rage, when it feels like it's being undermined. You're not listening to me. You're not giving me what I want. Wah. Another word for a grievance.
We're so used to deceiving ourselves, we're not very used to honesty. I mean, if we look at, we're only hanging on to this thing that's hurting us because we fear that the next thing we get into will be worse than this one.
That's exactly right.
We've been conned into believing that.
That's right.
When the evidence suggests every time we let that go, we were better off.
Exactly. It's exactly what it talks about in the development of trust. That's why the only thing that's going to speed you through the conflict and out of the pain is developing trust. In what? That what's beyond this is better. That's what we're developing trust in. That there's something that loves us and is guiding us always to something bigger and better, to something more peaceful. There is a better way. There is another way. That's what we're developing trust in. That's what all learning is for. That's what all learning is for, is developing the belief that there is a better way, that there is another way besides the ego's way. And the ego ain't going to be happy about that. Every time you entertain that belief or develop that belief, that trust that there's a better way, your ego is not going to be happy. The ego is going to feel undermined. You're undermining me. Right? And so next time you feel that ego, anger, rage, depression, sadness, you just as easily could go, oh, my ego is feeling undermined right now. My ego's feeling attacked right now. My ego's feeling undermined. Oh, so this is good. Now, what's going to happen to your rage then? Where does the rage go then? You know, when you go, oh, okay, only the ego feels rage. It's always when the ego feels undermined. The ego only feels undermined when I am entertaining the belief that there's a better way. Oh, okay, so really the rage means I'm doing something right. What happens to the rage? What happens to the depression? It just disappears. It just disappears. Wow. Deep. Okay, I love this section. This section seems really, 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 really important to me and really useful. Wait. All right. Now, any questions or comments on that? How does it feel to hear these ideas? I feel undermined. I feel undermined. I feel like I want to go home. I feel like, what time is it anyway?
It's you're going, how come I can't remember any of this when I'm right, when I'm in it?
That's right.
If you just
Exactly.
could,
That's
boy,
right.
the path would be a lot smoother.
Exactly. That's why the most helpful thing we can do in speeding up the time we evolve is to create a routine of studying the course, of reading it. Because we're not going to remember it. But if you have created a routine of reading it or listening to it, then you will get that reminder regularly without having to remember it yourself. That's why there's a workbook. Because I don't remember it myself. But what happens is, because I've created a routine of reading the course or listening to it, it will occur sometimes when I'm upset, and I happen to be listening to the course or reading it because I've created a habit of doing it. And I'm upset, and I'm listening to it, and then I go, oh, yeah. Oh, the situation that seems to be losing, seems to be being taken from me, is a good thing. It's helpful. This change is helpful. Right. And then I feel better. I notice that my upset has decreased. I notice that, wow, it's a miracle. I was totally enraged, totally upset before I started listening to the course or reading it. And the next thing I knew, I read that and went, oh, wow. And it was a miracle, because I went from rage and upset and anger and depression to relief. I felt better. And then I go, dang, that worked. Oh my God, that worked. That worked quicker than taking a pill. Right?
It amazes me how often it's nothing changed except what you thought about it.
Not a thing changed. That's what the Course calls a miracle. Not a darn thing in form changed, but I feel completely different. What would you call that? I would call that a miracle.
It means all that was wrong with it in the first place was how you were looking at it.
Thank you. That means the only thing that was wrong, really, was how I was looking at it. It was not what was happening, it was how I was seeing it.
It goes back to your perception.
As it always goes back to your perception. The only thing that can be in pain is your perception. Your perception. The only thing that can be painful is your perception, your wrong perception. You'll never be perceiving something correctly and feeling pain. Pain is always, the Course defines pain as a wrong perspective. Isn't that interesting? It doesn't define pain as a heartache. It doesn't define pain as a grievance. It always defines pain as a wrong perspective. Pain is a wrong deception. The other definition the Course gives for pain is self-deception. That's interesting. I'm in pain. Oh, you're in pain. You know what that means? That means you are deceiving yourself. Really? How? You're telling yourself you need precisely what would hurt you the most. Oh, that way. And that's what self-deception
So
is.
we become like an ego hypochondriac.
Exactly. Or a masochist. A masochist who is certain that they are right. Wow. Ever been out with one of those? Ever been one of those? Have you been one of those this week? Wow. Well, this is what my ego wants to undermine. All right. How are we doing on time? Okay, so it's 20 till. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so we're going to finish this paragraph and we'll stop here for the night. It says, and I'm just going to read through, starting at the beginning of the paragraph again. You are not prepared. And in this sense, you are babies. That means you have no sense of real self-preservation, which means you are very likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most. But here's the good news, folks. Here's the good news. Whether you know it or not, however, you have willed to cooperate in a concerted and very commendable effort to become both harmless and helpful, two attributes which must go together. I love it. The first part of that sentence is left out of the edited version. And I'm not sure why, but I love how it says, you may not know it, and whether you know it or not, you have decided to cooperate in a concerted and very commendable effort to become both harmless and helpful. In other words, it has happened in a very commendable way. You have, in a very concerted way, made a concerted effort to become both helpful and harmless. What does that mean? It means you have done a good job of getting to the point of learning how to not want or not cling to what hurts you the most. And you've made a commendable effort. You've made a commendable effort in a concerted way to become harmless to yourself. Good job. Now, they left out the good job, way to go part out of the edited version. So I'm just going to say to all of us and myself, good job. You've made a very commendable effort.
When you say that, what I hear is that even though you didn't know how to do it,
Yes.
you wanted to assist your brother rather than attack him.
That's exactly right.
'Cause
Exactly
a lot of
right.
people are busy attacking and calling it helping.
That's right. You got that
or
right.
whatever. And
Exactly.
in your heart, that's what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Now it's Holy Spirit's job to show you how
So
to.
it's like a spiritual
Exactly.
intervention.
Exactly. And that's what the Course calls a miracle. This is a course in a spiritual intervention every day. Until you are no longer a baby and until you have a real sense of self-preservation. But you have made a very good and commendable effort to learn how to have a real sense of self-preservation and not be harmful to yourself and others. When you learn how to not be harmful to yourself, believe me, you become a more helpful person. Believe me, the kind of people I want around me are the people who are helpful to me are people who have learned how not to harm themselves. Isn't that trippy? We are like babies. We haven't even learned yet how not to be harmful to ourselves.
And we can't teach it till we learn it.
And we certainly can't be helpful to others until we have learned how not to harm ourselves. Isn't that wild? You have to teach a baby, don't stick that needle in your eye. Honey, I love you. You don't deserve to have those scissors stick in your neck. Honey, I love you. The baby's like, wee, running down the hallway with the scissors. That's us. But what the author is saying in the original version is, you've done a good job. Congratulations. Good job in making that effort, even though you do not realize it. Even if you don't realize it, you've done a good job of beginning to learn how to not hurt yourself and how to not scream and rage as much when the things you're using to hurt yourself are being taken away from you by the beings who are in charge of this speed up. Good job. You know, pat yourself on the back. Nice.
Especially when the world validates the pain that you feel when all these things are being taken away from you.
Exactly.
Because
Oh, yeah.
that keeps you in that cycle of pain.
Absolutely.
Because you are enabled by the world.
Exactly. And that's why you've got to develop trust, which is the same as saying faith. You've got to develop trust and faith in this, because the world is not going to support you in that attitude. The world is going, you're valid in your rage. I'm going to join you in your rage.
And
We allow people to indulge in their pain.
That's exactly right.
And support them when we should have a different view.
That's
like sympathy instead of empathy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They join us in our rage. They go, how dare that person take that pair of scissors from you? How dare they? You should sue them.
They're running around with it themselves.
Exactly. How dare that person take away that pair of scissors you were running around with that you could hurt yourself with? The nerve of them. I think you should sue them. I think you should break up with them. I can't believe it. How rude. How mean. And they say they love you. The world joins us in our rage when the universe takes away from us something we had been using to hurt ourselves with. And so,
for some reason we attract that enablement.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because we are still addicted to the pain, which means hurting ourselves, and we haven't gotten to the point where we're willing to entertain some doubt about the ego's version of, about our human version of the situation. You know, we haven't gotten to the point where we're willing to say, perhaps there's another way of looking at this, perhaps there's a better way. We still are addicted to the pain. You know, what do you call somebody who loves to hurt themselves? What do you call that person?
Normal.
Normal.
Let me look around, that's
normal.
what you see.
Sadist.
We call them a masochist. We call them a masochist. The voice of the Course here calls it a baby.
It's like they've been hurting themselves so long they become numb and don't even feel the pain.
That's exactly right. Yes, exactly right. They have decided they need the thing or the relationship or the situation that would hurt them the most. Precisely. You know, we would call that person a masochist. And we all are aware of a part of ourselves that's a masochist. Why do I keep choosing people like that? Why do I keep choosing situations like that? Why do I keep taking that substance that hurts me?
We're addicted to people that have the same ailments.
That's right. If I am addicted to hurting myself, then I'm going to be addicted to people who hurt me in precisely the way that hurts me the most.
Like these teenagers now, they cut themselves or they have these rubber band things.
They cut, yeah. Exactly. Self-mutilation. Self-mutilation, right? Okay, so we would call them probably a masochist. The Course calls that person a baby. Oh, you little babies. Which is sweeter than going, oh, you masochists. A baby. We're babies. We have no sense of real self-preservation. Okay, now the way that you grow from being a baby into an adult who goes, hey, I don't want to hurt myself anymore. I think I'd like to preserve myself. I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to hurt myself. The way you do that, the way you grow and evolve faster is the way that you allow that speed up to happen is when things seem to be changing and when things seem to be being taken from you and a cycle of loss seems to be occurring, you say this to yourself. All changes are helpful. This is helpful. This is somehow for my own best interest, even if I don't understand it. Even if I don't understand it, this is helpful. This change is helpful. That's how you speed it up. You go from the baby screaming in rage, wah! Sticking himself with the scissors, up to the adult who's like, I don't want to hurt myself. I love myself. You speed it up. You speed up that time. You speed it up by saying, all these changes are helpful. Even if I don't understand it. Even if I don't understand it, all these changes are helpful. Okay? All right. So let's stop
Which means
here.
almost like accepting everything that happens in your life, no matter what.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that is what is faith, and it's also the development of trust. As soon, in other words, if you want to speed up your time through this painful phase, if you're going through a painful phase of loss and changes, and you'd like to speed up your traveling through, then you do it by developing trust in the bigger picture. You do it by developing faith, by developing trust. And the faster you can do that, the faster you move through it and into the peace, beyond it, to what's beyond it, which is what's next, what the universe is trying to give you, which is joy and abundance.
Well, I think for me it's important to remember that what you're doing to harm yourself, you're not aware of it, or you wouldn't continue it.
That's right.
So you have to keep yourself unconscious of what you're doing or not believing in
That's
it.
right.
Or
Exactly.
it isn't, you wouldn't allow it to.
That's
And that's
exactly
why
right.
with the babies, they're doing something, they don't realize they're going to get hurt with that.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind before you beat yourself up too much, that, no, you didn't know.
Exactly.
You gotta choose to
Exactly.
be aware and want to try to become aware, and,
That's why it's better to see yourself as a baby instead of a stupid masochist.
mhm.
Because when the baby's running with the scissors and doesn't want to let go of the scissors, you're not like, you stupid baby. You go, oh, you silly little baby.
Right,
It's a
baby-
totally different attitude.
Yeah, baby is.
Innocent.
Yeah, where a masochist is a know-it-all or self-righteous.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
One's trainable, one may not be.
Thank you. Exactly. Exactly. So see yourself as the baby who's innocent, but just doesn't know. Hasn't developed that real sense of self-preservation. Just a baby doesn't know.
We are innocent because we truly still are ignorant of what's in our best interest.
Exactly. We are innocent because we're like a baby who truly doesn't know what's in our own best interest. And so don't attack yourself as if you're an adult, stupid masochist. Forgive yourself because you're an innocent child
And then when
who wouldn't hurt yourself if you knew better.
when other people try to point it out, you're like, oh, you're wrong.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
exactly
we don't want to hear
right.
it.
That's
Because
exactly
they can
right.
see it,
That's right.
and you can't.
That's exactly right. Exactly. When they point it out to us and try to take from us the scissors, which is our know-it-all attitude, we scream in rage. You don't know me. You don't understand what I've been through. We scream in rage.
Yeah.
When people try to take from us the wrong attitude, the self-deception we're hurting ourselves with, and when something seems to be taken away from us that was hurting us, and they say, oh, it's all for the best, honey. truly, there's something better coming for you, what do? What do you know? Click. You know.
What's really happening on a spiritual level, though,
Don't
is
ever
that
call me.
you are attracting those beings or entities that open up your subconscious
That's right.
that you are getting to have a look at
That's
that you
right.
do not like.
That's right.
And it's really all of your doing by bringing that to your attention,
That's right.
into your consciousness.
Exactly. The universe is, in a very gentle way, like a loving good parent, is trying to gently show us all the ways that we are deceiving ourselves, all the ways we're hurting ourselves, right? And it's trying to show it to us. And sometimes it shows it to us through situations, and sometimes it shows it to us through people and relationships. And so the universe is always trying to help us become undeceived and stop deceiving ourselves. So it will bring us situations or people who will mirror to us how we are hurting ourselves and how we are deceiving our own self, right? And if we're not ready to stop deceiving ourselves, stop hurting ourselves, we will attack them. We will defend against them or attack them. We'll hold a grievance, right? When we're ready to stop hurting ourselves because we've agreed to become both harmless and helpful, then when we see it, we'll go, in what way am I trying to harm myself with this and not seeing that? In what way am I clinging to the things that hurt me? Right?
Well,
Yeah. In what ways am I addicted to hurting myself? Let's see. Right? That's that's how you'll be seeing people who irritate you and upset you. That's how you'll be seeing them when as you become more and more in your decision to become harmless to yourself. You'll go, yeah, I kind of try to hurt myself that way too. Yeah, I would see myself and pick exactly the relationships that would precisely hurt me the most. Yes, I do that still, and I have done that in the past. And I ask for the correction of that while I'm sitting here talking to them. All right, so we're going to stop here. We're going to do our integration meditation for a couple of minutes. Thank you for your generous expressions of financial appreciation. And thank you, all the listeners out there in YouTube land. Thank you also for your expressions of financial appreciation. And don't forget, you can go to my website at annakajawa.com to learn about my holistic counseling practice. I do Skype sessions and phone sessions and in-person sessions where I do Miracle Psychotherapeutic sessions, where we apply this to whatever way you are precisely hurting yourself through people and situations so that you can be released. All right. So now, go ahead and close your eyes. And take a breath. And I just want you to, for just a moment, to feel into how you feel right now. How does it feel to have heard these ideas? And how does it feel to have heard these ideas with others in a safe place, in a safe way? And the first thing that I want to remind us of is that we've done a good job. We've made a very commendable effort in learning how to develop a real sense of self-preservation. Good job. You've done a very commendable job, made a commendable effort in learning how to become more helpful in the world by learning how to develop a sense of real self-preservation. You've done a good job of learning how to stop deceiving yourself and stop hurting yourself with people and situations that hurt you. You've done a good job of allowing those scissor situations, those knife situations to be taken from you without throwing too big of a tantrum. You've done a good job. Good job. Beautiful. And now I want you to bring to your awareness a situation in which something that you've been using to hurt yourself with. Is it a relationship pattern? Is it a job pattern? Is it a health pattern? Is it a money pattern? What is it that you have? What's the metaphorical scissors or knives that you've been clinging to and hurting yourself with? And keeping the attitude of you know. What is it you've been using to hurt yourself with? You've been clinging to it, screaming in rage if it seems to be slipping out of your grasp. Where is the area of your life right now where you've experienced or are experiencing fear or anger about something you seem to be losing or are afraid you may lose? In your mind's eye, I want you to imagine yourself letting go, opening up your clinging grasp of it. I want you to imagine yourself letting it go in trust. That something that loves you wants to give you something that doesn't hurt you. And I want you for just a moment to entertain some doubt about your version of this problem, this issue that you've been hurting yourself with for a long time. I want you to say to yourself, maybe there's another way of looking at this. Maybe there is a better way. And maybe even say, I believe there is another way of looking at this or experiencing this. And experiencing your mind opening about it. Tell yourself, I believe there's another way. I believe there's a better way in this situation or this relationship. I believe there's a better way. And imagine your mind opening to that better way. Letting go of the belief that you know. Letting go of the belief that this is the way it's got to be. Letting go of the belief that this is the only way it could be. And open your mind in trust. And breathe into that openness. Breathe in that openness. Breathe in. I believe there's another way, a better way. I let go of my need for this person or this situation. I let go of my need for this person or this situation. I let go of my need for this person or this situation or this condition. I let go of my need for it to stay the same. I let go of my need for it. And I let it go. And I open my mind up in trust that the universe wants to give me something that doesn't hurt me, but keeps me safe and fills me full. I trust you, universe. I trust you know my own best interest. I trust this is in my own best interest. I trust this change is helpful. I trust your love for me, universe. And I accept your better way. And just breathe into that openness of mind. Feel what an open mind feels like. Beautiful. And to that we say amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicely done. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for watching out there in YouTube land. Thank you for being here and helping us all to hear those ideas. Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and see you next time I see you.